But that lady, that new press secretary, she's a
that video, dude.
She's a gangster. They're prepared. And you know why they're prepared? Because they're trying to play gotcha.
Yep.
So she played gotcha with them. She checkmated them.
She came in there with that Elon Musk flamethrower.
Play that video.
Watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
Well, it finally happened. Karoline Leavitt, rising GOP star and fearless free speech advocate, just went nuclear on The View, slapping them with a whopping $500 million defamation lawsuit. The pearl clutching from daytime TV's liberal elite has reached critical mass. That's $500 million for the casual character assassination they tried to pass off as brunch banter.
Like this young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah. I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Say what you want about Karoline, but one thing's clear. She's not caving to the media mob. Instead, she's taking aim at a show that's traded honest conversation for groupthink outrage. Let's face it, if you're going to be criticized just for supporting Trump or showing any political backbone, you might as well keep tabs and call it out. And that's precisely what she's doing.
Absolutely not. Let me be unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC.
Enter Joe Rogan, the no-nonsense voice of the internet, part philosopher, part fight commentator, and full-time common sense advocate. From his podcast Stronghold, one of the few places nuance still has a home, Rogan didn't miss a beat as the media frenzy took shape. He recognized the playbook instantly. Yet another shot from the old guard media at anyone bold enough to challenge their groupthink bubble.
Lady, that new press secretary, she's
when
a
you
gangster.
That video, dude.
She's a gangster. Have you seen that video?
You've never
Jamie?
seen someone more prepared for a question in your life, Jamie.
Have you seen that? You know what I'm talking about?
Small point on that. Not the big point, but small point. She was so prepared for
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, she's supposed to be prepared.
That's why I
Jamie.
said you've never seen someone more
why?
prepared.
For that.
They're prepared.
specific.
As the hosts of The View sipped from their coffee cups and casually threw around words like dangerous with the depth of a pop quiz, Joe Rogan sliced through the static. He didn't need a round table, just a microphone, a bit of logic, and maybe some elk jerky on the side. His take? Direct and unapologetic. The lawsuit wasn't a sign of fragility, it was a clear message. You don't get to wreck someone's name just to boost your viewership.
If you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about.
Let's take a closer look at what actually kicked this off. A segment on The View where the usual cast, Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg, Sunny Hostin, and a guest host who felt more like an intern on promo duty, decided to casually drag Karoline Leavitt over her political views and resume. There was no debate, no healthy exchange, just a televised pile-on masked as witty conversation. It wasn't analysis. It was a drive-by character assassination with commercial breaks. Behar, true to form, loudly branded Leavitt as dangerous, a label she tosses out like confetti anytime someone doesn't mirror her talking points. But dangerous how? For holding convictions and refusing to backpedal? Apparently, if you quote the Constitution these days, you're now a security threat. Whoopi followed up with her usual brew of aloof commentary and pseudo-philosophy. The kind of wisdom that sounds deep until you realize it's just vibes and recycled fortune cookie slogans. And Sunny Hostin? She dusted off her law degree just long enough to misapply it, sounding less like a legal expert and more like someone who skimmed a Wikipedia article on defamation 5 minutes before airtime.
Joy Behar went after Joe Rogan on The View, and he fired back spectacularly.
You're worried about losing your job, and you're worried about podcasts taking over, and who's the source of news, and we said Donald Trump was Hitler, but half the country disagreed with us, and he won, and this is and Joe Rogan believes in dragon.
That's when Karoline drew the line. No complaints, no backtracking, just a firm response through legal channels. She stood her ground, and Joe Rogan saw it for what it was. A cultural flashpoint. Someone finally standing up to media figures who treat their airtime like a moral compass. To Rogan, The View looked less like journalism and more like a chaos-filled brunch of recycled talking points and shallow outrage. Watching them try to tackle serious topics felt like watching toddlers attempt foreign policy with finger paint and juice boxes.
They're prepared. And you know why they're prepared? Because they're trying to play gotcha.
Yep.
So she played gotcha with them. She checkmated them.
She came in there with that fucking Elon Musk flamethrower.
Play that video.
Meanwhile, while Karoline's legal team was probably formatting lawsuits in Comic Sans, Joe Rogan was howling with laughter, likely knocking over a kettlebell or two. He framed the whole circus as performance art, Shakespeare in the courtroom with less talent and more hashtags. He openly praised Karoline for punching back against The View's hate parade. Sure, she's built a reputation dunking on the woke mob, but this wasn't hypocrisy, it was strategy. If The View can dish it, they should learn how to take it.
Ask people, even in the legacy media, even the Trump haters, they will tell you the approach has been much different. Not just for me, but the entire White House. Oh, absolutely. They come in my office every day and they'll admit that off the record. Oh. Maybe not on the record, but they will say they appreciate the access and the transparency and the preparation that goes into my briefings, and everybody on our team, by the way, who goes out to the...
Joe Rogan stood up and said it out loud. Good on her. And then, naturally, he went scorched earth on The View, because of course he did. According to Rogan, the show is what happens when daytime TV crashes into a menopause convention and no one brings facts. He skewered their whole shtick. Yell loud enough, cry victim, then act like survivors of a storm they created. It's the same tired cycle. They're like Mean Girls all grown up, handed talk shows, and completely forgot to evolve.
Strange show, but it's fun to watch. It's just fun to watch them.
It's good entertainment.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
Well, they're just, it's interesting because I think Sunny is very intelligent, but she's ideologically captured.
Right.
That's sort of, I think the other ones, there's a couple of the other ones, don't have to name any names, who are just very dull-minded. But I think Sunny's not one of them. I think she's smart.
From DeSantis to any red hat-wearing passerby, The View has declared war on anyone not sipping from their progressive brunch mimosa. If Joy doesn't agree with you, you're either evil, brainwashed, or scheduled for cancellation before the next ad break. Their version of political discourse is less debate, more scented candle sob session with a side of federal charges. But Rogan? He's the anti-View, the guy who invites Bernie Sanders and Alex Jones to the same backyard barbecue, then calmly chews elk jerky while the guests argue over what planet we're on. He's the adult in the room, even if he's in camo and talking about space apes. So when he saw Karoline suing The View, he didn't flinch. He laughed, then he clapped, because he knew what everyone with common sense already felt. It was long past time someone called them out. Let's not pretend The View is PBS. It's not journalism. It's Judge Judy with hot flashes. It's political improv night with no script, no logic, and way too much eyeliner. The second a dissenting voice enters the chat, it's treated like an exorcism. Karoline walked into The View knowing she'd face a firing squad of smugness and pre-approved snark disguised as questions. So she flipped the script. She turned their televised ambush into a legal counterstrike. Suing them wasn't emotional. It was calculated. A message. And let's be honest, potentially a very profitable one.
people want us divided, and they aren't just here in this country. They're foreign adversaries who are infiltrating our social media because it is prudent for us to stay that way. So when you see something that really pisses you off, you should triple check that one.
Yeah. But I think that's why people like our show, because they know that we are checked by ABC News. But
We're checked by everybody.
Yeah. I mean, if we're wrong, we have, the legal note here.
The human legal note.
But we went from Walter Cronkite basically to this guy, Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. I checked it. He believes in dragons? He believes in dragons.
Did you triple source that?
Yes, I did.
Joe Rogan got it. The lawsuit wasn't about precedent. It was about presence, visibility, dominating headlines like it's a pay-per-view cage match, and Karoline Leavitt just stepped into the ring wearing brass knuckles made of subpoenas. Rogan didn't just understand the play, he respected it, because he's seen The View run the same playbook for years. Throw verbal haymakers from behind a velvet rope of opinion, then dive for cover the moment someone punches back with anything sharper than a hashtag. They yell misogyny if you criticize, censorship if you don't clap, and bravery if someone manages to quote a half-remembered Wikipedia page without blinking. But when Karoline clapped back, not with sass, not with a spicy tweet, but with legal counsel, suddenly the ladies of The View were clutching pearls like Southern belles at a truth convention. You'd think Karoline had stormed the studio wielding the Constitution like a flaming sword. Rogan didn't just laugh, he endorsed the chaos. He poured a drink, leaned back, and probably added a sound effect. Because in his eyes, if The View can spend every weekday morning turning mild dissent into personal insult and spinning minor political disagreement into DEFCON 1 levels of hysteria, then they don't get to whimper when the blowback circles around like a boomerang of karma and lands squarely in their ratings.
Is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching and hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies infested hen house.
This is a panel show that still can't decide whether it wants to be morning television or a group therapy session for failed influencers. Half the time, it feels like a wellness retreat gone horribly wrong, complete with passive-aggressive affirmations and hot flashes of rage. And Joe's just sitting there, sipping mushroom tea, watching the hysteria unfold like it's the Super Bowl of self-inflicted PR disasters. Karoline may not win the lawsuit, but she's already winning the narrative. Rogan knows it. She's positioning herself as the woman who took a swing at the hydra of hysteria and lived to tell the tale. Meanwhile, The View is floundering, sounding more like a high school drama club auditioning for CNN. Joe's not mad the lawsuit happened. He's mad it didn't happen sooner. The more these hosts play victim every time they're challenged, the more ridiculous they look. And Rogan, master of monetizing ridiculous, is right there with a front row seat and a Spotify contract. This isn't a political conflict anymore. It's a content war. And Joe's the only one who knows he's already winning.
Yes.
And that's their audience.
Yes. Well, their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen audiences before for TV shows, but a lot of them are paid. They're paid to be there. So, because they have to guarantee that there's going to be people there. So there's services that you hire. And when a show gets really, really popular, like Letterman or something like that, obviously it has its own fan base.
Right.
And those people will try to get tickets before anybody else does. And in that case, they probably don't need to use a service anymore. They just get actual fans. But arguably, like, the real fans of The View that are like, oh, these ladies are on point. Most of those people can't leave the house. Like, they're probably immobile.
Right.
Let's call this what it is. Reality TV with subpoenas and a side of ego flambe. No one here is chasing truth. They're chasing clout like it's on clearance at Target. This isn't about defending principles. It's about defending screen time, Twitter metrics, and the last scraps of cultural relevance. Karoline isn't just pushing back. She's flipping the whole damn table, Real Housewives style. And Joe Rogan, he's right there, handing her the lighter, the gasoline, and a protein shake. Because in today's America, why engage in civil discourse when you can rebrand yourself as the phoenix of justice, rising from the ashes of sarcasm and clickbait? Karoline gets the clicks, the campaign donations, and another Fox News slot. The View gets the backlash, the rage clicks, and Joy Bihar's 19th meltdown this month. Rogan gets what he always gets, More downloads, more eyeballs, and 3 more hours to rant about how society's lost the plot, all while somehow linking it back to elk meat, DMT, and the fall of Rome.
Goldberg's, like, did you see what she did to that Staten Island bakery?
Yeah.
No.
Crazy.
What?
So Staten Island Bakery, their boiler went down, and she placed an order of cupcakes for her birthday. And they couldn't
hold
do
on. I can't imagine yet how this would go bad. Okay, go ahead.
So she places this order. They say, we can't promise you that we can do this because our boiler is down. So we can't fulfill this order. And so then the next day, the boiler is back up. She has someone else call the same bakery, and they get the order in because now the boiler's up. She claims the reason why they didn't take her order is because they didn't like her politics. And so she says this on The View. So then the bakery has a press conference where they say, we've been in business for 150 years. This is not what happened at all. We don't discriminate against anybody regardless of anything. We just had a problem with our boiler. And she's singling out a family-run business. And then there's a line around the block for the bakery.
It's not democracy. It's daytime court cosplay. And Joe Rogan is the jester who sees through the farce. The View preaches inclusion, but shuts down anything that makes them feel emotionally unsafe. Karoline calls them out, and suddenly she's public enemy number 1. But Rogan, he's the only one laughing while the rest pretend this is civil discourse. So now we get to watch Karoline launch subpoenas like confetti, The View drown in its own indignation, and Rogan turn the entire spectacle into high-octane podcast fuel. It's a 3-ring circus of ideological chaos, and Rogan just sold out the popcorn stand. The real winner here isn't Karoline or her legal team. It's the bald guy with a mic, a laugh, and zero filter spinning this cultural sideshow into streaming gold. Because if this elk-scented melodrama has taught us anything, it's this. Everyone's offended and everyone's lawyered up.